What if a conflict you can't even point to on a map suddenly made your next tank of gas cost 20, 30, even $50 more? What if the price of a flight, a bag of groceries, a smartphone, and the electricity bill powering your home all started rising because of a narrow stretch of water thousands of miles away? This story is not really about oil in the abstract. It's about how modern life runs on invisible systems and how one fracture in one strategic location can send shockwaves through everything you buy, everything you ship, and everything you depend on. In March 2026, a scenario that would have sounded extreme only weeks earlier suddenly became thinkable. Oil at $150, maybe $200 a barrel, not because traders got emotional, but because the world may simply not have enough physical supply moving where it needs to go. A month before this crisis escalated, anyone predicting $200 oil would have sounded like they were chasing headlines. Then, the numbers changed. Reuters reported that oil and fuel exports from 8 Middle Eastern countries averaged 25.13 million barrels per day in February. By the week ending March 15th, that figure had plunged to 9.71 million barrels per day, a collapse of 61%. Vortex's estimate was even more severe, exports falling from 26.1 million barrels per day in February to just 7.5 million by mid-March, down 71%. That is not a market wobble. That is the kind of supply shock that forces economists, governments, refiners, airlines, and central banks into emergency mode. And what makes this story so dangerous is that these were not just paper losses on a screen. These were real barrels that stopped reaching real customers in a world that still runs overwhelmingly on liquid fuel. Now, here's where the story gets interesting. Most people hear oil exports dropped and imagine those barrels will simply be shipped later, but that is not how this works when storage fills up and wells are forced offline. Reuters, citing ING and other market estimates, reported that Iraq had curbed production by about 2.9 million barrels per day, Saudi Arabia by between 2 and 2.5 million, the United Arab Emirates by 1.5 million, and Kuwait by 1.3 million. That alone adds up to more than 7 million barrels per day lost. Reuters reported total Middle East crude output cuts were now in the range of 7 to 10 million barrels per day. The International Energy Agency, which had previously expected the world oil market to be in a surplus of about 3.7 million barrels per day this year, suddenly faced a completely different reality. That cushion had effectively vanished. In plain English, imagine a city that normally has extra groceries in the warehouse, and overnight not only does the reserve disappear, but the trucks stop arriving and the farms stop shipping. Prices do not rise because people are irrational. Prices rise because scarcity is real.